Hi, we're back again, and part of this will be a little bit of review, but it'll still be in advance of what we were talked about when we talked about planting, okay? And I think I talked to you about digging a big hole and make sure you had drainage, you know? So all this is very important, you know? Along that line, you have to know what type of soil and what type of exposure and how much water the plants need before you plant. I want you to get away from what a lot of people that come to City College and a lot of people in the profession, they plant by looks. You can't plant by looks alone. It may look good growing there, but it's in the shade and it wants sun. Or vice versa. You put a shade plant in the hot sun. So you have to figure all these things out before you plant. And at an earlier time I showed you my soil probe, and this tells you what kind of soil you have. Then you look around when you go into a garden to help somebody do a design or to do some planting, and you look, if you have a big wall here, and this is south, that means right next to the wall is going to be shady all the time. The only time in the middle of June, the sun's straight down. It'll get some sun then, but that's it. So you don't want to, this is where maybe you put your camellias and rhododendrons and semi-shade plants, okay? But if you turn it around, and this is the west and this is the south, this makes a different way to plant. You could plant down here or up at this end. Also, you take into consideration the wind. If we're here in San Francisco and you're getting the wind off the ocean, the wind's coming this way. Well, if there's a fence or house, I would plant my plants there if I didn't want them to get into wind. You put them at this end, they're going to get the wind. And knowing San Francisco, we used to always say the Silver Avenue area, right through there. That's the wind tunnel after 12:30, 1 o'clock. The wind's whistling through there. And everybody in the Portola neighborhood knew that. So you have to adjust your planting for that. So you have to take, and once you got those things done, then you can pick color, texture, and whatever you want in your planting. And then another thing in planting, you get that in an architecture class or in a plant ID, you have to know how big the plants get. If it's going to be tall, if it's going to be wide, what's it going to be? You don't want to plant a redwood tree right up against a house. It's not going to work. Eventually, it's going to move the foundation. You know, people don't realize the strength of plants, okay? So, if you take all these things into consideration, then you get into what I call an zone planting. And zone planting could hardly ever work in my day because when we had sprinkling systems in the big gardens in St. Francis Wood and whatever, big one valve, and it threw water all over, you know. And so we would overwater some plants, underwater some. You know, in your own little home garden, you could be like my mom, you could go out with the hose. She was the original drip system. She just water this plant, water that plant, water that plant. In between, it could be like dust. But she just watered and put it, and she had a beautiful garden, okay? But we do things in a larger manner. So when drip irrigation came in, I started looking at that and I said, maybe we could really do zone planting. So you put a bunch of drought-resistant plants over here, and over there, it's in the shade and everything, and there you could put your rhododendrons and camellias, and over here, you get a lot more sun, you could put all your roses over here, and now you could take your drip system and zone over here, zone there, and zone here. Well, that worked real good. You know, we can even do that with sprinkling system. But with drip, you could mix your plants. You could put right over here a camellia that needs quite a bit of water, and over here a drought-resistant plant. So when you bring your tube, you go drought-resistant plant, find another one over there, find another one over there, and another one there, and that's all on one line. You don't put any water on the camellia, that's on a different line. So it could be watered 3 times a week if you're in sand or whatever. So you could do zoning so much better and save water on drip zoning. It takes a little bit more thinking and planning, you know, and it could be all done on paper, and then you follow through with it, you know, and you have to learn, you know, all the different emitters at that time. There's some that will give you 1 gallon an hour, some half a gallon an hour. Maybe you could put 2. If you want more water, you put 1 on each side of the plant, and then that would be 2 hours an hour, okay? So there are ways to do this, and what I found out in the droughts of the 70s, when the city allotted you only 25 gallons of water, you had to know how much water was going on your garden, and with a drip system, you could count all these emitters, and you could know exactly how many gallons an hour or a minute you're putting on the plant. So you have to know your irrigation pretty well. But a lot of it's all written down in manuals and books, and so you can get these numbers and then just know simple math and add them up, and you can do an analysis of how much water being used. Okay, so those are the main things that I can tell you, and it's a lot of information if you just want to run this tape a second time and think about it a little bit. It's just not things to learn, it's to use. And if you use it, I guarantee you can have a beautiful garden and an integrated garden. I hope this helps you out. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.